This week, we're talking about the co-op games of 1982. Cooperative gaming was still in its infancy, but this was one of the first years where we started to see some innovation and diversity in co-op gameplay. But before we get to the multiplayer games, let's see what else was happening in the world of gaming in 1982. In arcades, we saw Dig Dug, Pole Position, Mr. Do, Zaxxon, and Qbert. On the Atari 2600, we were introduced to one of the most influential platformers of all time, Pitfall, as well as a game considered to be one of the worst games of all time, E.T. This was also the year Atari released its follow-up console, the 5200. Coleco decided to throw their hat into the home console gaming ring as well, with the ColecoVision. And finally, the Commodore 64 was released, and it's still one of the highest selling home computers of all time. When it comes to co-op gaming, 1982 was truly one of the first great years, with a number of solid releases, starting with Space Duel. During the arcade game's heyday in the early 1980s, companies produced clones of popular titles in hopes of repeating success. After Asteroids' 1979 triumph, spawning imitators and sequels, Atari released Asteroids Deluxe in 1980. Known for its extreme difficulty. When it didn't sell well, Atari introduced Space Duel in 1982. While not officially a sequel, it enhanced the Asteroids concept with unique elements, especially cooperative gameplay. The cabinet's impressive art, reminiscent of Star Wars, coupled with color vector graphics, Space Duel innovated in co-op, offering two distinct modes: simultaneous independent play and fuse mode, where players' ships were linked. The fuse added challenges and complexities, making Space Duel an early and standout co-op classic in arcade history. Vectrex had a number of vector graphic arcade games that felt right at home on the system. Ripoff is one of those games. In Ripoff, you control a ship equipped with lasers and thrusting capabilities. The game employs an interesting mechanic. Crashing into enemies destroys them, but temporarily delays the appearance of your backup ship. The primary objective is to accumulate a high score by shooting various types of pirates, followed by a rewarding bonus round, with 16 diverse gameplay options to choose from, offering varying cell protection and screen wrap rules. Ripoff provides ample variety. The responsive controls and shooting mechanics function smoothly, yet the overall gameplay somewhat lacks engagement and depth, occasionally leading to moments of waiting for enemies. While competent, Ripoff's action and strategy could be more captivating, making it somewhat unremarkable compared to other titles in its genre. Another game on the Vectrex is Armor Attack. You take command of a tank and engage in thrilling battles against waves of enemy tanks and helicopters. Your vehicle's movement is responsive, with precise aiming aided by incremental rotation controls, while helicopters move swiftly, requiring a single shot to eliminate. Tanks demand strategic two-hit targeting. Utilizing protective blocks adds a tactical layer to the gameplay. The action escalates with the introduction of more tanks, encouraging diverse tactics for success. A well-balanced limitation on firing enhances the strategic aspect, promoting planned attacks. The two-player co-op mode enriches the experience, though screen wobbling during intense moments can be distracting. The innovative Invisible Scenery mode adds a unique challenge. Armor Attack offers accessible yet challenging gameplay reminiscent of classic titles like Combat, making it a worthwhile choice for enthusiasts seeking engaging tank warfare. 1982 was truly a golden era for arcades. Joust is one of those standout creations. Joust offers thrilling simultaneous two-player action. The game involves maneuvering a knight-equipped ostrich, controlled with left-right movement and a flat button. Your goal is to joust and rival warriors mounted on buzzards, with the higher positioned victor prevailing. Buzzards lay eggs that hatch into new foes, if left untouched, adding urgency to collect them. Pterodactyls join the fray if you linger, introducing a challenging element. Joust strikes a perfect balance between cooperative and competitive gameplay. Of course, we prefer playing this cooperatively, but it's very easy to kill your teammate if you're not careful. Even though the graphics are very simple, the gameplay holds up, making Joust one of the all-time classic co-op games. Swords and Serpents on the Intellivision. The gameplay places you in the role of a warrior prince on a mission of vengeance. The game, played from an overhead view, captures battles against enemies like Phantom Knights and Red Sorcerers, while seeking keys and collecting treasure to advance levels. The highlight, however, is its multiplayer mode. I was thrilled to find that I could play it either solo or in co-op mode, controlling both the prince and Nilrem, the royal court wizard. Nilrem's wizard powers add a strategic twist to the experience, allowing you to break walls, shoot fireballs, heal, and freeze objects. While controlling both characters can be challenging, the unique gameplay dynamic and cooperative element make it incredibly engaging. And this was really just an unexpected game. I'm glad I found it. Worm War 1 on the Atari 2600 is yet another entry in the Space Invaders Galaxian type genre. It presents a decent and somewhat entertaining variation of the familiar slide and shoot gameplay, with appeal to newcomers and younger players. The game tasks you with maneuvering a tank through an obstacle course while dealing with worms and pagoda gas stations. The firing button allows intermittent or continuous shots. Fuel levels are crucial, with pagoda stations replenishing the energy units lost by moving blocks or collisions with objects. The game offers 3 play options: obstacle course, clear screen, and invisible worm field. Objects scroll downward, and collisions reduce fuel units. While Worm War 1 lacks significant uniqueness, it provides some solid gameplay, and it's just rare to play any kind of shoot 'em up on a home console that had co-op at the time. Going back to the Vectrex, we have Starhawk. It's an engaging space shooter that offers both single player and cooperative action. The game's objective is to thwart incoming alien craft, aiming to infiltrate your planet, destroy bombers, starships, missiles, and rockets approaching the screen. While the added challenge of shooting down command ships enhances your abilities temporarily, the game's intense pace keeps players on their toes, and the option of gaining extra time with high scores adds to the excitement. While there are control options to tailor your experience, the analog-based one lacks smoothness. The game's energetic gameplay is complemented by appealing sound effects and graphics, featuring a pleasing pseudo 3D effect and scrolling planets. The game's main drawback is the inconsistent hit detection, which can be frustrating when accuracy is crucial for scoring and time extension. Despite the flaws, Starhawk showcases promising potential for a captivating space shooter, making it a worthwhile endeavor for fans seeking an engaging arcade experience. Survivor is a unique shooter game that was released on Atari 8-bit and Commodore 64 home computers. What truly distinguishes this game is its unique control scheme, offering a remarkable twist. In single-player mode, the ship responds to the joystick's commands and fires both forward and backward, much like the arcade classic Bostonian. However, the innovation comes to life in multiplayer settings. In a 2-player setup, one player commands the ship while the other handles the guns, maintaining the opposite firing directions. Yet with the introduction of a third player, a novel dynamic emerges as they take control of the rear gun, which is previously a shared function. Astonishingly, in the 4-player variant, each player adds to the ship's versatility. This complexity is balanced by the challenge of coordinating actions. You know, if you have a good team and you can all work together, this can be a really rewarding co-op experience. Tunnels of Doom on the TI-99. It's a pioneering title of the 1980s. It embodies the fusion of fantasy and computing as an early rendition of the role-playing game genre. It introduced players to a cooperative adventure that predates modern RPGs. The game's mechanics feature a party of adventurers exploring a dungeon in a first-person perspective, with 4 players taking control of distinct characters. In encounters, the viewpoint shifts to a top-down display, enabling turn-based combat. Players must strategically utilize each character's abilities, coordinating their actions to overcome monsters. While the cooperative aspect was basic compared to contemporary titles, Tunnels of Doom's innovative approach to teamwork and its groundbreaking use of the first-person perspective made it an influential piece of gaming history. Unfortunately though, when playing it in co-op, the other players just control a character in battle, so there's a lot of downtime where not everyone has something to do, so keep that in mind. Wizard of War had already been out in arcades, but in 1982, it was ported to the Atari 2600. This game offers a nostalgic glimpse into the suspenseful gaming of the past, reminiscent of a blend between Pac-Man and Combat. Despite modest graphics, the game maintains a suspenseful ambience from its era of creation. The narrative involves two armed players navigating a maze to eliminate monsters. Gameplay accommodates 1 or 2 players as they strategize entering the maze ahead of the monsters, while time pressure escalates if the maze isn't cleared promptly, and occasional enemy retaliation keeps players on edge. Cooperative or competitive play is possible. Graphics sport a basic maze and moderately detailed monsters, though character designs appear quirky. The music only had 2 tracks, but it enhances the eerie atmosphere. While the controls are simplistic, they get the job done. The game provides enjoyable insight into vintage suspense gaming, although there isn't a lot of replay value more than just trying to get a higher score. Freedom Fighters on the Magnavox Odyssey 2 starts as a conventional asteroids-like single-screen space shooter with a rescue element. However, the second joystick introduces an intriguing twist, enabling hyperspace movement to scroll the screen left or right, aiding in prisoner rescue and evading clusters of pulsars and mines. Shift movement in hyperspace risks collisions, compounded by the challenge of managing 2 joysticks simultaneously. The game manual recommends dual joystick play with 2 players, so obviously that's the way you should be playing it. Since rapid pacing and precise prisoner tagging rely on hyperspace, using the second joystick is essential for the complete experience. A single hit results in death with no extra lives. Despite this, accepting these constraints and embracing it as a conquerable challenge is necessary. Freedom Fighters is another pretty decent Asteroids clone. It stands out with its 2-player co-op gameplay. Microsurgeon on the Intellivision. It was the brainchild of Imagic and designer Rick Levine. It proved to be a visionary game upon its 1982 debut for the Intellivision system. Praised for its innovative gameplay, players assumed control of a robot probe within the human body, combating tumors and blood clots. The controls, deliberate yet effective, were commended for their precision. This is another game where you use 2 control pads in order to operate the ship. Of course, this could be done with 1 player, and maybe that's how it was intended, but I know of many players, like myself, that like to split up these tasks and make it a co-op experience. So that's why we're going to talk about it here. The striking graphics offered a unique X-ray perspective of the body's interior. Despite being a over 4-decade-year-old game, Microsurgeon's original concept remains remarkably fresh, making it a standout title in Intellivision's history. A few games I wanted to just quickly mention were all on the Atari 2600, and they have some co-op elements, but they're all fairly limited. But I just wanted to briefly mention them. We had Atlantis, Entombed, and Demons to Diamonds. None of these games are my favorites, but I wanted to mention them. What are some other co-op games from 1982 that we didn't talk about? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to tune in next week when we talk about the co-op games from 1983. Thank you for watching.